everybody. We're speaking today with Nell Merlino. She is founder of Count Me In and was also the creative energy behind Take Our Daughters to Work Day. She'll be speaking at the WISE Symposium 2012 this year, and we wanted to talk to her a little bit about her thoughts about women and entrepreneurship into society today. So welcome, Nell.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited about this upcoming event. I can't wait.
Yeah, I think you'll love the energy, enthusiasm about them. I wanted to ask you, especially based on your foundation and your business and what you do, why do you think events like WISE are so important to women today?
I think women spend an awful lot of time in isolation in their business. That, if you started a business in your home or, you aren't, big yet, you don't have exposure to a lot of people. You may talk to your customers, but if your business is online or depending on what it is, a lot of small business owners, in particular, suffer from being isolated. So I think one of the wonderful things about coming out to an event is that you very efficiently, in a very enthusiastic way, get to see a lot of people. You really use, it's not like you're getting dressed up to go out to meet one person. You're getting dressed up to go out to meet 100, 200, 300, 1,000 people.
Right.
And to get energy from each other, because I went to something last night in Philadelphia where there were 40 people, and the energy that you get and the problems that get solved, the problem solving that can go on in a business and at a conference and, at a larger meeting, I think are very powerful. And also hearing how somebody figured something out where you don't have to go reinvent the wheel, but you can just listen to somebody and go, oh, that's how you do that. And, be able to go back to your office or your store or whatever you've got and use all this new information. So I always spend time thinking about, is it worth getting dressed, putting on the, whatever you're going to do? Is it worth getting out of your pajamas to go do this, if you have a home-based business? And it is. It always is. We make more money when we go out. You've got to get out there so people see and hear what you do, because the internet is wonderful. We get to do things like this, but people got to see you. They got to smell what you're talking about. They got to just get to know you. And I think it's very important to do it.
Tell me a little bit about the genesis of Take Your Daughter to Work Day. I love that day, and my daughter looks forward to it every year. So tell me a little bit about that concept.
It came out of, I was meeting with the Ms. Foundation for Women, the organization that Gloria Steinem founded, and they were very concerned that girls, even after 25 years of the women's movement, that adolescent girls were still suffering this loss of self-esteem. And they asked me to come up with a campaign. And they gave me all this research, and the research was really depressing about how many teenage girls get pregnant, how many, what suicides. I mean, it's some very, very hard stuff. And I couldn't imagine myself calling up a magazine editor or a television producer. You might get one story, but you weren't going to get a sort of campaign around this terrible information. So I sort of flipped it on its head and said, well, what if we did something really unexpected and put girls in a place where you'd never imagined them being? And at that time, it was at work. So it came out of, I think, my understanding of the need for girls to see. And I think it has carried through in my work in Count Me In for us to see what's possible. So that, like going to the WISE Symposium, you see things that you wouldn't understand were possible unless you meet the woman who's doing it. And for girls in Take Our Daughters to Work Day, it was to see whether men and women were doing the jobs. What could they imagine that they're not getting sitting in school about, because, at that time in the 90s, you weren't seeing as much on TV about what women could do in terms of jobs. We still see some pretty weird stuff on TV, but there's still more now where more moms and people work on a regular basis. So it was really about, I literally had a vision sitting on the subway of what if the subway in New York was as crowded with girls as it was with adults at rush hour, so that adults would start to understand that the future workforce is going to be much more female. And of course, fast forward 20 years, there are now more women in the workforce than men. So it was really, it's come so full circle for me.
I actually thought, along that theme, how cool would it be to have a whole kind of teenage female, daughter track to kind of run in partnership at WISE? Like, what if there was a whole track where women were bringing their daughters that day?
I think girls thrive on seeing who their mother is outside of the house.
Yes.
If there's a certain relationship inside the home, and depending on who does what in the house and, how money is handled and that kind of thing. But the number of girls and the number of women who were just amazed at how little their daughters knew about them and why they loved their job or why they didn't like their job or why they felt so tired when they came home. The realizations that girls had about their parents, seeing their work environment and seeing that mommy had friends at work, and all these kinds of things, that a lot of women are reluctant to talk about how much they like work because they fear that their kids will think they like work better than them. So there are lots of issues. And I think the more girls can see their mothers in business settings and see how much fun and also what it takes to be successful, the further along they're going to be, not only in terms of their thinking about their own future, but in terms of their appreciation of who their parent is, who their mother is, and what role she plays in the world.
What do you think the biggest challenge for women entrepreneurs are today? And this would tie directly to your Count Me In.
My talk is about, how do you know when you're ready to make $1 million, or, when is your time?
Right.
I think we're still spending a little too much time waiting to see what happens. And I don't think it's being more aggressive. I think it's being more decisive and purposeful about what it is that we want to accomplish, and making some decisions. And one of the ways those decisions manifest themselves is by deciding, okay, I'm going to book $250,000 worth of business in the first 6 months of the year. And just deciding, not a totally overblown, but deciding that that's a possibility, that's a goal, and what's the worst? Yeah, so you hit 150,000, as opposed to 250. And if all you made last year was 100,000, hitting 150,000 by July is a huge improvement. But I think we still don't think big enough. We still don't. And I think the lack of thinking big enough and the waiting are all sort of mixed up together. And we really got to get that we have much more control over this part of our destiny than we really think that we do. So I would say that there are more decisions that you can make about moving forward than a lot of women recognize.
That's a great point. I really like that. Nell, thank you so much for your time today. It has been such a pleasure speaking with you, and I look so forward to meeting you in person. I think you've done some wonderful things for women entrepreneurs and just women as a whole. So I applaud your efforts and your hard work, and look so forward to meeting you.
Well, I look forward to it as well. Thank you. This was fun.